Once you've done that, go ahead and lock it in by tapping the Enter key. And you'll see that the formula itself didn't change the result. It's still 1,142. But I fixed it, right? All the other cells deal. Meaning that if I go from cell to cell here, you'll see that they're still referencing H2, H3, and H4. If I would like to replicate this style of formatting to all the other cells, I'm going to need to autofill down again. So one last time, I'm going to select I4. Now, with an absolute referenced H1 cell, I'm going to autofill down. And there it is. So now, H4 times H1, and below that, H5 times the absolute referenced H1. The cell below it, H6 times the absolute referenced cell of H1. So when you're trying to build a function or formula that is going to consistently reference the exact same cell every single time, no matter what, no matter how many times you autofill or copy and paste, you need to remember to absolute reference that cell using the F4 key. Go ahead and pause the video and catch up with me here. Remember how we got there. To calculate the tax rate, we multiplied subtotal by the tax rate. However, to allow for us to absolute reference and autofill down, we remembered to lock in cell H1 in that function. Go ahead and take this opportunity to do just that. Welcome back. So now that we've got our basic menu up and running, automated, meaning that as soon as we update any of these sales values from weeks 1 through 4, our total units sold changes, our subtotal changes, our taxes change, our average units change, all because we told Excel how to do what we wanted it to do. Once we've gotten to this point here, maybe we'd like to expand. We're doing so well, we'd think we're going to add a new menu item. But there doesn't really seem to be anywhere for me to add that. We've got coffee, tea, bagels, English muffins. Maybe I'd like to add a third drink. That'd be kind of silly for me to toss it underneath the total here. So I actually need a little bit of room. Cursor in row 6. Having placed my cursor there, I'm going to navigate up to the Home tab and find that Insert button. Go ahead and find that Insert button and select the Insert Sheet Rows. And just like that, you've got a brand new clean row. Now, we could have also simply right-clicked on the row number 6 and selected Insert as well. Both will do exactly what you want it to do. Go ahead and try that for yourself and then come back. All right, so we've got our new blank row. Our new coffee drink will be our new patent pending coffee tea. All rights reserved. And our coffee tea will be, I don't know, let's say $5. We'll go ahead and make up some sales figures here. It's super popular. And you'll notice that as we're going through this process here, all of our totals are updating as well. I'll explain why in just a moment. Now you'll notice that our totals down here at the bottom updated. However, our total units sold, subtotal, and taxes did not. The reason being is that when you insert a row where there's an existing range of summation, in this case we were already summing up these fields right here, when we inserted a row in the middle, we stretched out that range. So any formulas that we're referencing, say from C4 to C7, if we stretched that out, it would automatically grow to include that new C8. However, when we insert a new row, it does not copy formulas. So you'll notice that here in cell G5, we have a formula, H5, we have a formula, I5, we have a formula. Those will not copy when you insert rows, so it is important to keep that in mind. Fortunately, we have our autofill technique, or by highlighting both one row that does have the formula and one row that does not, using the keyboard shortcut Control-D, we can bring that down. Once again, the way we did that was by selecting a cell that already had the formula in place that we'd like to copy, and then autofilling down using that little green box in the bottom right corner of the cell. Now that we've done that, let's say we'd like to add a couple of columns in order to give ourselves some breathing room. I think I'd like to have maybe let's say 3 columns of space, just to kind of give myself some room. Maybe I'd like to have this field reserved for notes about the week or the month. To insert a column, it's just as easy as it was to insert a row. Simply place your cursor where you'd like there to be a new column, and then here in the Insert tab, in the Home tab, find that Insert dropdown, and select Insert Sheet Columns this time. Now that works for just one column at a time. However, if you'd like multiple columns, let's say I'd like 2 additional columns inserted, highlight 2 columns, in this case column A and column B, right-click, and select Insert. And you'll see now that 2 columns were inserted. Go ahead and try that for yourself and then come back. Fantastic. So we've dropped in a new row, we've inserted a new menu item, we gave ourselves 3 extra columns of space because we'd like to be able to take notes. But you'll notice that when we moved things over a little bit, we kind of lost the organization that we had set up here. For example, copy certain values inside of Excel just as easily. So I'm going to take my cursor over here, and I'm going to highlight Sunday. Now, with my active cell on Sunday, you'll notice that we've got this drop-down arrow, just like we did in every other instance. This little box in the bottom right corner, the autofill handle, I'm going to take my cursor and hover over it. Once again, make sure that your fat white cross becomes a thin black cross. Once I've got that thin black cross, I'm going to go ahead and click and hold, and I'm going to drag, and watch what happens. Look at the little tooltip on the right. It says Monday. I drop down again, Tuesday. It's actually autofilling the days of the week. Excel does know, just like you and I, that Sunday comes before Monday, comes before Tuesday, and so on, all the way through Saturday. So I've taken it down to row 10, and I'm going to release. And look at that. So we can use autofill not only to continue the pattern of formulas that we're using, but we can also use it to continue on annotating common knowledge fields. Well, what else can we autofill? How about something as simple as the date? Today's date I've currently got 2015. And of course, I know full well that after November 25th, we've got the 26th, 27th, and so on. But I really don't want to have to go through this whole process of typing. Well, once again, we've got autofill to the rescue. So I'm going to highlight the little cursor, and once I've got my fat white cross and I take it and turn it into that thin black cross, I'm going to click and hold, and I'm going to drag down, and boom, look at that. The tooltip on the right-hand side. 11/26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Now this is where you really have to ask yourself, 1, is there a 31st day? And if there's not, does Excel know that? Boom. Look at that. I'm going to go ahead and release. Excel actually knew that there isn't a 31st day in November, and so it jumped straight to December 1st. Autofill can really save you a lot of time with just these little micro decisions, these little micro checks to see whether or not you're putting in the right information. Or if it's such common knowledge that it's beyond mundane, autofill can alleviate the whole process and tedium of having to do something that simple. Go ahead and take this opportunity to try this out for yourself. Go ahead and type a familiar common value, like Sunday, or better yet, maybe its abbreviated value of sun, and autofill down, and watch what happens.